Ba weep, Granagh weep, Nini Bong. Welcome back to another episode of the Transformers AutoBook Club, a weekly podcast where I and a guest read, discuss, and deep dive into one issue of the Marvel Transformers comics. Just a quick note for anybody watching the video version. At the beginning here, before we start talking about the pages of the actual comic, there's going to be images on screen that are just relevant to whatever it is we're talking about. But later on, when we start discussing the actual comic itself, then you'll be able to see the artwork page by page as we go through. Today's guest is someone I've never spoken with before. We have a Discord server in common, and they responded when I put out the call for guests. So thank you so much for offering up your time and joining me today, Chintan.
Good to be here.
It's 9 in the morning where you are, right? So you're up super early.
Yes. You're making me get up early, man.
Sorry, but I really appreciate you taking the time.
I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. All right, so yeah, we've never really spoken before. So tell us a bit about yourself and where you're from and how you got into Transformers.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I work as a software engineer. I got into Transformers actually not through comics, but the movies, the first Michael Bay movie.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, it was a big rage in Kenya. That's where I grew up in. So, yeah, I watched that movie and I was blown away by, Optimus Prime especially, and his ethics and his morals.
Yeah, that's a big thing for lots of people.
Yeah, I've always been philosophical, so that's what attracted to it most. And obviously, it's robots turning into cars, man.
Right.
Yeah, and that Camaro, that was my longest time until I came here, and I was like, I don't want to get the Camaro. It's not practical. But I tell you what, I did go and visit Monument Valley and Hoover Dam and all the locations. So that was
Oh, wow, that's
that's
cool.
pretty neat.
I think you're the first person I've spoken to who got into it through the Michael Bay movies.
Yeah.
A lot of the fans I've spoken to are like super old fans from, super old. I mean, old school fans of like G1 or stuff like that. So yeah, I think you're the first person who got into it through the Michael Bay movies, which is awesome.
I actually watched the cartoons. I remember watching them where we had like Cheetah and the Beasts transforming. I don't know what cartoon that is. I don't know.
Oh, right, as Beast Wars maybe? Was it CG? Like CGI?
Yeah, it was animated.
Yeah, it sounds like Beast Wars.
Yeah, so I watched that cartoon. I vaguely remember watching it, but I wasn't into it properly until, the Transformers, the Autobots, and Decepticons that we know.
Oh, so if you got into it through the Michael Bay movie series, did you watch any other Transformers stuff after that?
No, not actively, not until I just sort of followed the movies. And then I think I watched the first 3 movies like as soon as they came out, but the quality started declining after that, and working with the actor, and the actress and all of that stuff, they had to pivot hard into the storytelling. I didn't like the Mark Wahlberg stuff that much. I did like the last movie when they're introducing the Transformer Beasts.
Oh, Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, Rise of the Beasts. I kind of like that more over fourth one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but that one and Bumblebee are the ones everyone says are like the best ones. So I'm gonna try it at some point.
Bumblebee, yeah. Bumblebee was a really good spin-off. And Haley Steinfeld, I think she's the main lead on that. She did an amazing job. And obviously, I think it has John Cena too. I love John Cena, so.
Oh, you do?
I'm watching it.
Was he in that one? I can't remember. He might have been the dad.
Yeah, I think he was the dad. But yeah, so for me, it's always been movies. I didn't even realize Transformers had comics
Yeah, lots of them.
until I got into comics like properly,
Oh, so you're more of a comics fan than you're a Transformers fan too, but you're more into comics?
Yeah, so I'm really big into the hobby now. I just started properly like reading weekly comics last year. So
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah, no, I used to read it when I was a kid.
The same happened to me.
Yeah, I used to read when I was a kid, but I didn't have access to American comics. I had access to Indian comics.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I use Amazon in Japan, and so sometimes I filter by like the cheapest price for comics, and there's like a whole series of Indian comics that are so long. I can't remember the name of the character now, but there's like a book, and then it has like a red stripe at the top.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's his name? I can't remember.
Yeah, the Indian comics publishing house, or the one that I know that does this is called Amar Chitra Katha. It tells like the reason I love those were they were like, life lessons and stuff like that, but in a kid-friendly way. And then there's one called Tinkle Comics, which is just an anthology, and it's just a bunch of short stories and strips with like there's a comedy sketch with my favorite was this guy called Supandi. He's very dumb, and then he sometimes takes things literally. So like I vividly remember there's a time where he learned in class that rubber, when you apply heat to rubber or anything, it will expand. Like linear expansivity. It's a concept in
Okay.
physics. He went shopping and he bought slippers that were rubber, but they were one size down. So instead of returning, he put it on the stove to heat it up. And his grandma, what are you doing, you dumb fool? And he's like, well, I learned rubber expands with heat. I'm waiting for it one size up.
That's funny. I would have like considered that. Like you said, American comics are usually like what you think of when you think of comics because they have like a huge industry. But I never thought about it in other places. There's like a whole industry for it in India too. That's so cool.
Yeah, there is. I don't know how big it is, but I think with the age of the internet, right? Everything has become so accessible. Like this was for me. This was in like 2005, 6. I didn't know of the concept of American comics. I used to watch Justice League Unlimited and Batman Beyond in the late
Oh, okay.
90s. So I was a guy. Batman obviously being my favorite, and then Wonder Woman. I didn't know like I knew they were like comic characters, but I just didn't have a way of reading the comics until I got here. And then from here, I just didn't have enough time. So now I'm at a place where I have enough time to dedicate to it. And I've went overboard. Like I have at least 15 from the past 2 weeks, so still on my to read stack. So
Yeah, that's how it goes. The same for me. I wanted to read comics for years and like decades, really. And I had read a few things that like friends or even one of my teachers gave me, but I wanted to read hero comics and I just couldn't find a way to do it because everything I picked up to read, I was like, I don't know who this is. I don't understand what's going on.
yeah.
And then when I turned 30, I just jumped into a bunch of stuff and then like kind of didn't worry about continuity anymore and didn't worry about not knowing everything. And eventually I just, I'd been reading it for long enough that I understood it, or you can read like a new number one and it's fine. So yeah, then I got super, super into it. Like when I just turned 30s, and now I'm 38, so about 8 years ago. But I read like so many comics every week because they're so amazing. Comics are awesome. They're like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I read beyond superhero stuff. I love reading creator owned, because that's where the creators can truly let loose. There's no editorial oversight and stuff like that.
Right. I think some of the best stuff is not hero comics. I think there are some hero comics that are really great, like amazing. But yeah, the best stuff is not really superheroes.
Yeah, like the Brian K. Vaughan's stuff, man. That stuff is so impressive. Like he keeps on, just bringing out bangers. Like Spectators is in my list. I haven't bought it yet, but Saga has been like a really good.
Yeah, Saga's amazing.
Yeah, I'm reading Why the Last Man. Like I'm just going back and reading some old Vertigo stuff, but that's really good, man. You just don't want to put it down.
There's so much too. Like I'm in the same boat as you, where I came to it so late, and then to find all these things about like I might read a comic by somebody that came out this week, but then I'll find out they've written comics for like 20 years and they have so many others for me to read. And then the list of things I want to read just gets like so long. I don't think I'll ever read everything I want to.
Yeah, no, that's how I discovered. So when I discovered Ram V and his storytelling, because he's Indian too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because he brings a lot of Indian mythological aspects into it.
Yeah, often, yeah.
He in Resurrection Man, he has this whole page and scene in issue 4 that is the scene of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Hindu holy text.
I really loved that. Resurrection Man, was it Quantum Karma? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it was beautiful and so
Yeah,
good.
it's page 4.
Oh man, it was so clever.
Yeah, it's page 4 where the archer drops his bows and is like, "These are my friends and families. How do I fight?" And then the charioteer, which is supposed to be Krishna, is when he espouses the Gita's knowledge to him and says, "Your job is to do your karma and fight on the side of dharma." Dharma meaning the right thing in terms of ethics. And this is not ethics that humans set, not rules, because Mahabharata, the war, happened because people followed ethics, but it wasn't ethics morally. It was what the rules that were set by humans, and it's a whole epic. But that whole page is just about that, and he writes it so well. And I was like, this is history. Like it's wild that DC let him do this, and I need to own that.
Right, just plops it in the middle of a
Yeah.
That's like a page in a whole book full of pages of other stuff
Yeah.
too. Like, oh man, he just
I love historical, man. I would pick up anything around Vedas. So I went back and got the Many Deaths of Layla Star, the rare flavors one.
That's nice too. Dawn Runner is lovely too.
Which one?
It's called Dawn Runner. It's about mechs, and the artist on that is amazing, like fantastic. And then Ram V wrote it as well, so it's super good.
I haven't heard of that. I'll have to get it. There are a few others I haven't read
Oh, it's
still
lovely.
from him, like the Eisner stuff, like Blue and Green, and
Blue and Green is amazing if you like jazz, especially.
I like jazz, but I'm not into it in this. I couldn't tell you like who's the best jazz artists and stuff like.
Ah,
I
yeah,
like
no.
listening to it when it's on. Like that's for me, jazz is more like a Sunday morning vibe. Put it, start
Uh-huh.
making breakfast and
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, he did a Swamp Thing that was really good
Yeah.
too. Goodness gracious, he's done so much stuff.
Yeah, Swamp Thing, Detective Comics. Yeah, I'm reading his Detective Comics.
Oh yeah, he did do Detective
Yeah,
Comics.
I'm reading his Detective Comics run, but I haven't gotten back to it.
I got a bit lost on that one. There was lots of really interesting little parts that I don't know if I missed it or they just faded away.
Yeah. I feel like that's
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
saying. I feel like sometimes editorial oversight and what the creator wants becomes an
Mhm.
issue. I'm not saying it was an issue there, or I don't know what happened, but like when you're working with an editor and technically eventually going to crumble and just do what they tell you in their timeline. So sometimes you have to rush up things.
Yeah, and it's Batman too. Like they're gonna be precious over Batman, I guess. You can't just do what you want with Batman.
Yeah.
All right. So I was gonna ask you if you'd seen the animated Transformers movie from 1986.
I have not.
Have you seen that one?
Nope.
Oh, you haven't? Oh man, it's such a pillar of Transformers fandom.
Yeah, I'll have to send me a list of recommendations of Transformers media. I mean, obviously, I know there's this whole compendium. I remember telling you that I pulled the plug on the Kickstarter campaign, but I mean, it was just too much for me.
It was, yeah, they're very expensive, and I was a bit nervous about it because I'd never read these before, and I really love the Transformers comic that's running now. But I mean, these are from the 80s, so I knew they were not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And then going back and reading them, yeah, some parts of them are really goofy and silly. Some make no sense, but it's so fun as well. And there are some parts that are genuinely really good. So it's a really good mix of like I'm having fun reading it when it's silly, and I'm really enjoying it when it surprises and impresses me.
Yeah.
These ones though, you read the UK ones, and these are quite different. And the ones that we're reading, the chapter 3 and chapter 4, it's like the second half of the first story they ever did before they really knew what they were doing and before everything was really solid.
Yeah.
So I think this is not really a good example.
Yeah, no, I can feel that when registering the story.
Yeah, it's a little bit obvious. And I think, well, we'll talk more about it when we start talking about the issue, but I think they thought they were making this for British kids, so they put a kid in it and they said it really firmly in England, but it's like none of that actually really matters, and the story is really wonky, and then the end is really sad. It gets really suddenly very sad and strange.
Yeah, that the ending doesn't sit right with me.
So before we start to read parts 3 and 4 of Man of Iron, you read the first two to get the start of the story. So what did you think about those?
They're okay. I mean, I didn't see anything that stood out or that say drove the story forward, and and largely it's because I already know Transformers, right? I'm familiar with the property, I'm familiar with the lore.
Mhm.
So as soon as the fighter jets came and dropped the bomb that didn't explode, I knew it was a probe.
Right.
Like I didn't need that discovery later on. I knew the fighter jets were Transformers. It could like the Decepticons
Right.
because it's done in the movies. Like we're familiar with the properties, so it wasn't anything new. So that's why part of it is the bias there, the prior knowledge. But overall, I think it was a well-written story. The only issue I have is there's lack of female representation. But then again, it goes back to the age and time when this was written. So I guess that was the culture there. I wasn't even alive, so I don't know.
Yeah, right, me too.
But
yeah, I feel about the same. Like it was fine, and I have a bias in that I know they didn't have all the information yet, and it wasn't quite ready, and also the American comic had started, but they were trying to do something for the UK market, and they didn't really know exactly what to aim for. So knowing all that, I feel like it was okay. But like you said, there's nothing that exciting or nothing to really grip you or grab you. at least so far, but they're finding their footing, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing that was pretty neat was sort of going into the dream of, was it Sammy?
Yeah,
The
Sammy.
kid's name?
That whole sequence was very confusing for me.
Yeah.
I don't know which parts were real and which parts were not real anymore. Because at one point his bed is outside.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. For me, it seems like I think all of it was real, but Sammy was sort of, because he was in the sleep. You know how sometimes you're in, like, say that you're sleeping in a classroom, for example, and people are talking. You hear the conversation and you acknowledge the conversation. You remember, like, after you wake up, you remember that, but you were sleeping through it, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it kind of felt like that's what was happening, because Jazz was trying to get Sammy so that they can figure out what's going on in the castle.
Yeah, I thought so too, because he has a dream about Mirage, who he hasn't even met yet. So I was like, how is he having a dream about this guy he's never seen? And then the jets were there,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't there, and then there was a ship. I was like, what the hell? And then there's a person in the sky at one point as well. His bed's on the ground, and there's somebody like floating in the air.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Now that I think about it, yeah.
It's super weird. I guess we can start looking at the issue now. So, are you ready to roll out?
Yes, let's roll.
Just a quick recap of Man of Iron, parts 1 and 2. Some mysterious unmarked jets, which we know are obviously Decepticons, have flown over Stansham Castle in South England and dropped 2 bombs. One exploded, but was relatively harmless, and another buried itself in the ground and didn't explode. The police and the castle guard, George Cousins, call in the castle's curator, Roy Hawker, to come and see the situation and work out what's going on. On his way out, Roy's wife, who doesn't get a name, which is really harsh, considering all these extremely minor characters who are getting full first and last names. Anyway, she asks Roy to send their son, Sammy, home. He's been playing outside in the woods near the castle all day. So Roy makes a stop there on his way to the castle, and he does just the barest minimum to find Sammy. He gets out of his car, and he calls him a couple of times before just completely giving up, and he drives off to the castle. Sammy was in the woods though, but he was pretending to track his dad from the bushes, when he lost a toy arrow from his bow in a tree. So he climbs up to get it, and that's where he meets Jazz, who just for some reason decides not to speak to him at all, and just to like menacingly and silently walk towards Sammy. And Sammy runs away screaming all the way home. Roy reaches the castle and learns about the bomb, and then he receives a phone call from his wife to tell him that Sammy has just got home in a state of shock. Roy goes back home and reads to Sammy from a manuscript which was found in the abbey near the castle. It tells the story of the Man of Iron, a giant metal humanoid spotted near the castle in the year 1701. He shows Sammy a picture, and he asks him if the robot that he saw looks like the one in the manuscript, which Sammy says it does. After a very strange sequence which blended dreams and reality, in which it looks like Jazz came to Sammy's window and asked him to go with him, we find out that during the scanning of the castle for the second unexploded bomb, the police have found a structure the size of an ocean liner buried in the earth under Stansham Castle. They've opted to excavate it, but want to keep it private so as not to attract the press. Back at the Harker's house, Jazz, parked outside in car form, acts just incredibly creepy and tries to lure Sammy to get inside him. Sammy is very hesitant, but Jazz is like revoltingly pushy and manipulative about it, not helped by the fact that Jazz has no clear reason for so aggressively baiting a child. Anyway, during this sequence, Sammy's mum comes outside and she sees that Sammy is in a strange car with the door open. And as soon as Jazz sees Sammy's mum, he slams the door shut and he speeds away, taking Sammy with him. So that's where we rejoin things now, like with Jazz needing to be put on some kind of sexual offenders register. So on the first page here, we get a brief recap about Sammy, who asks Jazz where he's taking him. Jazz reassures Sammy that he doesn't want to hurt him, but he has something he needs to tell him, and there's something that he'd like Sammy to tell him too. So he's going to take him to meet some of his friends. Sammy is excited to hear that there are other talking cars, and Jazz says that there are quite a few of them that perhaps Sammy has seen around before. Behind them is a race car looking robot that Sammy, I guess, we're saying that he did see all this stuff from his dream in real life, even though parts of that sequence like had his bed outside and a random person floating in the sky. The whole thing is confusing to me. Doesn't make so much sense.
It seems like it was just a way to introduce Mirage.
Yeah, he was just randomly there.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know that was meant to be Mirage for a long time, because that's not how Mirage looks in the American comics or in the cartoon. I was like, who's this race car guy? Jazz continues that they sometimes disguise themselves so that they aren't discovered, and the race car robot demonstrates by transforming into its car mode. Jazz explains that sometimes they get discovered by accident, like the time Sammy saw Jazz in the woods. I don't. This still doesn't explain why he didn't say anything to him. He just like walked towards him and scared the crap out of him. Sammy puts two and two together that this car and the robot that he saw are the same person. And there's a picture of his face there that I think is supposed to be excited surprise, but he looks just horrified to me. And they've colored it all blue and green too, which is just adding to that, I think. I wonder why they went with that, because he looks terrified.
Yeah, so you know how it starts. So, and this is because we have the context of ending of chapter 2. Sammy is scared for his life. Jazz has practically kidnapped him, but the way Sammy comes around to being comfortable with Jazz immediately in the second is Jazz mentions, "I'm going to take you to meet my friends," and Sammy's like, "Oh, you have friends?" So excited about it.
Yeah.
Typically, when I mean, even when I was 10 years old, I'm not saying Sam is around that age. If a stranger tells me that he's taking me to meet my friends who has been scary so far, I would be extra scared. I wouldn't just be like, "Oh, you have friends? I would be curious to meet your friends," you know? So that whole thing, yeah, it's and I don't know what they were going for, but it's also, say if they were going to appeal kids in this one, it's kind of sending the wrong message to kids as well, right? Get into the cars with
Oh,
strangers
yeah.
if they're going to be Transformers.
Like, at first, he was a little bit like, oh, my mom said I shouldn't get in the car with strangers, but Jazz kept pushing him, which was really gross, actually. I mean, I know it wasn't supposed to be anything sinister, but the way it was written really came off like, oh gosh, this is uncomfortable. And then, yeah, like you said, he got in the car and then he's like, okay, yeah, cool, where are we going? Like, stranger danger. Major stranger danger. Oh my goodness. And yeah, like you said, not just one. He's like, not just coming with him. He's like, yeah, let's go meet my friends. Like, ugh. I mean, obviously it's Transformers. He's going to take him to meet the Autobots. But if you didn't know that, like if I had just picked that up and read it, I'd be like, what is going on here? This is bad news.
Yeah, exactly.
Jazz tells Sammy that his name is not pronounceable in English, so he can just call him Jazz. Bumblebee also mentioned before that his name was a code name in the American comics, so I wonder what Cybertronian names are like. He introduces the race car as Mirage. So yeah, like I was saying before, I didn't even know that was supposed to be Mirage with a big number 26 on him. I've never seen that look for Mirage before. But I think the artists who were drawing this only had the toys to go on. So
Yeah.
if you look around online, there is a toy of Mirage that looks like that. So I guess that's how this appearance for him ended up in the story. But it's weird to me that they have toys that look so different from the cartoon version.
Yeah, I think they were trying to just get a footing in and then see what works before refining it. So now it's very. I think there's a template because you'd see most, even if they would introduce a new toy or a new transformer, like there's a template on the general structure of the transformers. Like even if there's in the movies when I forgot what his name was, the truck, the black truck, Trailblazer,
Trailbreaker?
or yeah, around yeah. But even that, it's just a truck, but it looks cool, It's like
Got a stripe and stuff.
yeah. Like compare here, we're introduced to Mirage, and then the third Transformer. What's his name?
Yeah, that's Trailbreaker. I'm not super familiar with him either.
Trailbreaker. Yeah, yeah, but he just looks like a basic wagon, right?
Yeah. There's like these two really
So
cool
I
race
think they're
cars
just
and
trying
then
to.
this like box at the back.
Yeah, just a box. Yeah. And in the modern age now, almost every Transformer, even if it's a wagon, like it's a higher end, looks nice. So I think
Poor Trailbreaker.
they've refined the design quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, reading these comics and then reading the wiki and learning about how tight all the deadlines were and how much things seemed to be like disjointed and information wasn't necessarily shared to everybody at the same time, it seems. So I feel like the toys, the cartoon, and the comics are all produced around the same time, but like completely separately. There was like no email then or whatever. So I guess in some places it seems like not everyone was on the same page. And then eventually, once it all got started, then things got a bit more solid.
Like it becomes tricky working as a team, a creative team, and these are a this is a day and age when experience in terms of being with the company for a long time made you seem that you were more powerful, and it was my way or the highway kind of deal, right? So
Oh yeah, for sure.
it kind of permeates as well. Like it still goes on today. It's just a bit different. And that's why I've been dropping off of Marvel just on a tangent, because I just don't. I find their stories lackluster these days. Like it seems like creators are not allowed to create as much. But So I feel like that's why it all seems a bit rushed, right? The story beats are like it's not built up properly, in my opinion. And then, like I mentioned, one moment the kid is scared, the next moment he's saving their lives, and he's so happy to be with them,
Yeah, it's super
right?
wonky.
So
And the tone is
yeah,
really all over the place as well.
yeah, exactly.
Like this section is like a fun adventure movie for a kid, and then later on there's some really kind of heavy stuff. I don't know what they were going for, or if they even knew from part 1 to part 4. If when they were writing part 1, had they planned it all through to part 4, or had they just kind of like made it up as they went along? Like it's really unclear. I would really like to know that actually, like what the process was for this.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, but I don't know if we have any data like that, right?
There's like the Transformers wiki is really useful, and it tells you lots of information, but it doesn't have everything, because I mean a lot of this happened, more than almost 40 years ago. So if there was
Yeah.
a record of it, it's either it's gone or there wasn't even a record.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if there are any interviews from the creators themselves, like that's taking it from the
Oh
horse's
yeah.
mouth versus hearsay.
Yeah, and there would be no polite way to ask that too. Like, so what the fuck were you thinking? Jazz also introduces Trailbreaker, who they're set to meet with. So he says, "All set, Sammy?" And Sammy says, "Sure thing, Jazz." And Jazz says, "Then let's go." And the three cars get into a single file formation. And like we said, there's Trailbreaker at the back looking just like a box with wheels on, behind these two like fancy pants race cars. Above the motorway, which I think is the same thing as a freeway, that's just what we call them in England, two jets are circling and searching for the Autobots. And when they find them, they swoop down to attack. According to the ever invaluable tfwiki.net page on this story, due to a colouring error, both of the jets are coloured blue, like Thundercracker. So this next sequence might appear that there's only one jet involved, but there are two. It does make it hard to name them though in the fight, so I don't know who they're supposed to be, but the colouring makes it look like it's all Thundercracker.
Yeah.
One of the jets fires a laser and scores a direct, devastating hit on Trailbreaker, whose entire back half explodes and is just totally destroyed. A wheel flies off and it's on fire, and he calls out to Jazz for help. Sammy asks what's happening, and Jazz tells him that the Decepticons, their enemies, are attacking. And he calls out to Trailbreaker for a damage report, and Trailbreaker can reply, and he says it's no good, everything's gone, just plain ruined. So last episode I was saying how the first two parts of Man of Iron were a bit low stakes and low impact. But now that the fighting has started, it's ramping way up. A single shot from a Decepticon laser was enough to damn near kill Trailbreaker, and his car form got totally wrecked. The damage levels are like way up there compared to the American comics. They're firing lasers at each other all the time, but in this it's like one shot and he's messed up. The poor Trailbreaker just got introduced, and now the poor guy is taken right out. He's pretty much totaled. One of the jets lines itself up behind Mirage to get a clean shot at him, but Mirage swerves to try and throw them off. And of course then he uses his handy-dandy ability to become invisible to shake the jet off. The jet was so focused on Mirage and his disappearing act that it didn't notice an approaching bridge, and by the time it attempts to pull up, it's too late and it smashes through it. And it catches fire, and it looks like one of the wings might be broken there too. Another Transformer gets totally wrecked in the first fight of the UK series. It's going to take a lot of repairs, but I really like this approach to the fighting where like taking one hit could be deadly, and the Transformers really tried to destroy each other. Mirage catches up to Jazz and boasts, "How about that?" Jazz says, "Good work, but watch out. They still have one more Decepticon jet to worry about." And next is coming in for a head-on attack. Sammy panics and swerves Jazz using the steering wheel, and the jet's laser shots harmlessly hit the tarmac. But there are two really big explosions where they do hit the floor, so yeah, those lasers are not messing around. Jazz thanks Sammy for saving him, but Sammy says he was thinking of himself more than Jazz, which is like such a blunt thing to say, but we're like that in England sometimes. Sammy doesn't like mean anything by it. It's kind of a self-deprecating way to acknowledge a thank you from somebody. Mirage says not to celebrate yet. The jet missed, but it's still coming. On a close-by bridge, Bluestreak transforms and aims his laser at the oncoming jet and fires a huge beam, and the thing completely explodes. And a wing comes off and the body of the jet is breaking up here on this page. So like, yeah, this fighting is really harsh. On the next page, the jet smashes into the ground and the nose breaks off, the body comes apart and it screeches along the road, leaving a trail of fire, while Bluestreak watches from the top of the bridge. Again, combat is being so brutal in this story. If one hit's enough to take out an entire jet, there's going to have to be so much more advanced tactics than just showing up and blasting lasers at each other like in the show. I actually kind of like a much more serious and deadly approach to the fights, but we have to see if they keep this up in the UK stories as they continue. Because I don't know if they can keep firing like just one shot at each other and taking each other out all the time like that.
fire to kill, right? But I think because the introduction of it, I think they purposefully did it this way to just give it like a high stakes, high octane battle feel, you know? Because you want that, you know, SFX, and you want that fighting early on if you're a kid. I'm assuming this was done on purpose.
Huge explosions all over the place.
Yeah,
When you were a kid, did you ever watch Power Rangers?
I did. I did. The
They would just have explosions in that for no reason.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah,
Every now and again, there'd just be a big explosion, and everyone would jump in the air and go, "Whoa!"
yeah, yeah. And I think it works because when you're a kid, you want all that.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
But it feels way more like a war comic than the US comics do at this point. Like, it really feels like we could lose anyone at any time. Blue Streak radios Jazz to let him know he just brushed something off his tail, and he warns him to be more careful in the future. The fight is over, and Jazz and Mirage turn off the motorway. And I really hope they're sending somebody back for poor Trailbreaker. He's just laying there in the road, and they just completely abandoned him.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I quite didn't understand because they just abandoned their fallen, you know?
Yeah, just left him there. Not even,
They just abandoned him.
didn't even
They
check.
kept going.
They took out the jets too. Like, they had no
Yeah.
no reason to like need to rush off.
Yeah.
The fight was finished. They could have gone back to check on him, but they just left him.
Yeah. It was weird.
Poor Sammy has had like an adrenaline crash and fallen asleep across the seats in the front of Jazz. Jazz calls him and wakes him up. They have a little ways to walk, and Sammy says that he's cold, which tracks, it's England. But Jazz says it's not so far, and he'll warm up again soon. Sammy asks about Mirage, but not bloody Trailbreaker. Jazz says Mirage is staying behind to keep watch, and they come through the trees to find this huge ship, which Jazz says is a shuttlecraft. Jazz announces himself and his guest and asks for permission to board, and the doors slowly open, and there's Prime! He welcomes Jazz back and says, "Bring the human inside, will you?" Which is a really typical British speech pattern. It's kind of funny. I'm trying to imagine Prime with like a British accent.
Yeah, I kind of caught up on all the British idiosyncrasies of speaking and stuff. Just because I grew up in Kenya, so I grew up with the British idiosyncrasies as well, because, you know, colonial stuff. And we followed
Yeah.
all that. But and beyond that, I'm a huge football fan, like the soccer.
Oh, okay.
So I've been following football my whole life. So that involves following podcasts, news, all of that jazz, right? So I'm kind of well versed with all that.
I can't imagine what Prime would be like.
Yeah.
Transformer, get out of here. Sammy goes inside and sits on a giant chair. And the narration says that he can't believe any of this is real, so his mind is just kind of comfortable with all these really strange things happening. Jazz brings out... Actually, that's so convenient, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're just explaining that away really quickly, like, don't worry about it, just keep reading. Jazz brings out the picture that Sammy noticed in his back seat, the one which came from the manuscript his dad read to him. Sammy says that it's the Man of Iron, and that he's a legend, spotted around Stancham Castle. He says it looks a bit like you, Jazz, which it really does. So much that I think they were the same person at some point.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That they were the same person.
Yeah, even the red, like the little red accent on the chassis, like that looks exactly like Jazz. And actually, what he says next doesn't make any sense. He says that the reason they look similar is because they're from the same place. But like, everyone's from Cybertron. So is Optimus and Mirage and Trailbreaker, and they all look completely different. So that explanation doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we were saying before, I wonder what the process was, because I think the Man of Iron was maybe Jazz, and then they changed that idea at some point.
Could be, and then it was like the artist is like, I don't have enough time to rework everything.
Yeah, just chop the panels together and put some different text in there.
Yeah.
Optimus tells Sammy that the Autobots came to Earth from Cybertron and now they're stranded. He finally makes everyone being in England make sense. He says that they followed an Autobot signal halfway around the world, so from Oregon, where the US comics have been taking place, to Stancham. Prime explains that the signal was in the Cybertronian language, and that it had been being sent for millions of years. Prime speculates that the signal is coming from a rescue craft, and that's underneath Stancham Castle, meaning that the castle was built on top of it, unbeknownst to the builders. Sammy says, wow! If the soldiers keep digging, like they are now, they'll uncover the craft. But Prime says that they mustn't be allowed to do that. If they do, the Decepticons will target it and destroy it, which could destroy the castle and the nearby village. I guess the Decepticons are doing lots of air surveillance and can't detect the signal being sent from inside. The unexploded bomb that the Decepticons dropped in issue 1 was actually a probe, because they suspected something was there underneath the castle for some reason that they don't explain. But Jazz says that the picture of the Man of Iron has convinced the Autobots that there must be other Autobots waiting in the ship under the Earth that they need to rescue. That's an important thing to remember later on. They are sure that there is somebody in there that they need to rescue. He says that the future of the Autobots, Sammy and his parents and neighbors all depend on this. They have to get to the buried ship fast. And that's the end for part 3. So before we move on to part 4, what did you think of part 3?
It was a bit all over the place. I didn't. I don't know if I liked it. Like, okay, so the aggressiveness in fighting was pretty cool to see, but Sammy magically being okay with just being in the car and trusting Autobots, like they don't show enough to say why should Sammy trust Autobots over the Decepticons, right?
No.
To me, it seems you would rather trust the Decepticons because they didn't kidnap you.
Yeah, that's true. They give you that one little narration box that says, oh, yeah, like, he can't believe any of this is happening, so he's just fine. Like, that's flimsy, but...
Yeah, it could be that, but it seems like an easy way out.
Exactly, yep.
They've set up pretty high stakes here, where they're like, we have to get to that ship first, right? But let's see how that plays out in chapter 4, because this is pretty high stakes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. The combat's ramped up and we have more of an idea of what's going on. And now there are some higher stakes than like there's an unexploded bomb at the castle. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot more than the first 2 parts. But yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a good introduction to the lore, like where they came from, and why they're in England. Like we get all those explanations finally, right?
Yeah.
So that's the side of it, and then the ending of the chapter is pretty interesting because it makes you want to just go ahead and read chapter 4 and see what's actually going to happen. Like, okay, so it's a ship. Are they going to take it? What are they going to do? Is there more Autobots or more Transformers inside the ship? Like, because they're mentioning it's a rescue ship. So
yeah,
what's going on with this? So it kind of strings you along that. So let's see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in part 4. Okay, after a brief break in the middle there for us in recording, we're heading into part 4 of Man of Iron. In part 4, we're starting over in Stancham Castle with 2 new characters, Major Dawes and Peter Whiteley, who's calling him on the phone. And this is such a slap to Mrs. Harker's face. She's literally the only person in this entire issue who doesn't get a name at all. She's just your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Peter Whiteley with a full name just to make a phone call. That's all he does. Anyway, he calls Major Dawes to inform him that he should come and see what's happening at the castle, because the operation is much, much more of an undertaking than it had first seemed. Dawes asks if he should come to the castle personally, and Whiteley says yes. Dawes asks for a rundown of the current situation, so Peter explains that not only is the scale much larger than they originally thought, but that they can't even identify what it is that they found. The object has a high level of electrical activity and a low level magnetic field, and they're picking up previously undetected subsonic low frequency emissions in a regular pattern. And he speculates that it's some kind of signal, which, as we know from Jazz and Prime, it is.
Distress call?
Yeah, it's like a distress call, or like a... I think later on they say that it's a rescue craft. So I think they chased after the Autobots after they crashed onto Earth to try and rescue them and take them back to Cybertron, and just got buried under this castle.
Mm-hmm.
The artwork shows us that there's an Autobot logo on the craft too. Dawes says that he'll be there as soon as possible, and Roy asks Peter what the object is. He says that the signal they've detected might be trying to call nearby extraterrestrial life, or even other beings that are already here on Earth. Peter goes to talk to the other soldiers who are close by, but Roy stays behind. And poor guy, he looks like he's about to burst out crying. And I don't really blame him. His mouth is really downturned and he's closing his eyes there. The narration recaps his situation and puts that expression into context. Something has attacked the castle that he curates for his, his job, his whole livelihood. And as far as he knows, there's an unexploded bomb somewhere on the grounds. They found this gigantic object under the castle, which, that could destroy the whole castle if they're trying to excavate that. And his son's been kidnapped by a driverless car.
Yeah.
And to add to that, a close-by section of a motorway has been closed due to a strange incident involving cars and jets. So he thinks, obviously, that's probably going to be involving Sammy in some way or other. And this one box made me laugh, though. His wife is under sedation. Which is like, is that a thing? Did they do that in the 80s? If you were stressed, they just sedated you?
No idea, man. It seems weird, but I mean, 80s and 70s were weird times.
Fair enough. I think if I had lost a child, I'd want to be sedated too, but yeah, I didn't know that was a thing they actually did. So just as he's standing there and spiraling and wondering what else could possibly go wrong, the earth begins to shake and the military present start to scramble. And someone yells, "Captain, look!" And he's pointing at an elevator that's just come up through a patch of earth. Roy's shocked to see that standing on the elevator is the Man of Iron, which he saw in the manuscript earlier on. The captain orders the soldiers back to the car park, which just means parking lot, just as Dawes arrives in his jeep. Peter yells for him to turn back, and Dawes says, "Peter, what's going on, old boy?" So I imagine he's kind of a stuffy old British gent type. The kind of person who says things like old boy or old chap, just to mean somebody they're familiar with. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's actually old. We get a shot from inside Dawes' jeep as he exclaims, "Good God!" The Man of Iron turns to face it and fires its weapon. For some reason, there's no reason for it to do that, but it fires on him anyway. And the jeep is blown into the air and flips and lands upside down and it's on fire. But it's okay, because we can see Dawes and his companion there running away from the wreckage. Just to make sure that you know that they're okay, nobody's died. But earlier on we had houses being burned and women being taken away, children being left with no parents. But in this particular panel, they want to make sure they survived.
This was a bit confusing. Like, who is that robot? I'm assuming that would be a Decepticon, but
I'm not sure actually, because later on it says that the Man of Iron is the one that's still inside the ship, and that he had an attendant. But this attendant looks exactly like the Man of Iron. So I don't know. Yeah, it's really weird, this ending.
yeah. And then in the next week, looks like some other robot is coming.
Oh yeah, that's Thundercracker. Well, it looks like Thundercracker, but they're all colored wrong, so it could be somebody else. But it's a Decepticon anyway. Dawes jokes, "That was some welcome, Peter." And Peter says that he tried to warn Dawes to turn back, and that the whole world has gone bananas, which is another really typically British phrase that just means gone crazy. And Roy's hiding behind his car, and he yells to Peter that there's another robot. And like we mentioned before, yeah, the Decepticon jets are all colored the same, so we don't know who that is.
Mm.
He says that the robot appeared from nowhere, which it did. It's another jet transformer. But, yeah, we didn't see it flying in, and it's just kind of come around the corner or out from behind the castle, so who knows where it was before now. But 2 of the jets got totaled in part 3, and we know that there's 3 kind of main Decepticon jet transformers, so it's the remaining one of Thundercracker, Starscream, or Skywarp, but we don't know which. And he just casually walks out from behind a bit of the castle, but he aims his weapon at the newly awakened Man of Iron and fires. The Man of Iron's leg is totally destroyed, but the Decepticons are not done yet, and they take aim again, and this time the Man of Iron's torso just completely explodes immediately. So again, combat and fighting in this is being really, really high stakes. Taking 1 shot or 2 shots is enough to make you completely explode. Close by, the Autobot shuttlecraft passes by Stancham, pursued by the Decepticons, though they're so far off in the distance that it's hard to make out any recognizable shapes. There's just some black kind of shapes with some white lines that mean they're going fast. Prime asks if Jazz is ready to roll, who confirms that he is, and rolls out of the craft with Sammy in his front seat, while the shuttle flies close to the ground. Jazz heads for the castle, but first he does something so insanely dangerous. He tells Sammy to be ready, and on his signal, he hits a big drift, and then Sammy tries to jump out onto the grass. And Sammy's this tiny little thing. He'll break his neck doing this. It's so dangerous.
But he just runs it off.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, I think it goes back to appealing to the kids. When you're a kid, you dream of doing stuff like this after seeing it in the movie.
Yeah, it's his little Sammy's action moment.
Yeah.
But he could have just left him on the shuttle. There was no need to do this at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, appealing to the kids, giving them something to do. And actually, now that we're almost done with the comic, all of the stuff the Autobots had to ask Sammy, they could easily have asked Roy or literally anybody else at the castle. There was no need for Sammy to be involved in this at all. So yeah, my guess is that all of this was just to do a RoboCop 3 and to just put a kid in it to give the kids a proxy in the story.
Yeah. I think that was the intention. Even I think the action being deadly shots and stuff, I feel like it's just all geared towards appealing the kids, because I don't think this is geared towards a more mature audience, just based on, because when you're we can call out some inconsistencies and stuff like that, right? Even right now. So I'm pretty sure back then it would have been the same.
Yeah, just put some explosions in it to get the kids interested.
Yeah.
Apparently, the UK stuff, eventually gets amazing. Like, a lot of people say that they add so much to the lore and like it kind of overshadows the US series later. But for right now, at the beginning, it's really wobbly. And I guess, yeah, they're just trying to get the comics out there and sold. Jazz hits a jump and collides with the Jet Decepticon right in the chest, which is this is like my favorite part of the whole thing. It's a really cool move. The Jet falls over backwards, and Sammy runs to his dad, who's glad to see him safe and sound. And Sammy says that Jazz is going to help them out and to clear the area. Roy, Sammy, and the army prepare to retreat, while Laserbeak and some other Decepticons get into formation, and it says fall in a screaming power dive. And their sights are locked onto the Autobot shuttlecraft, but the Autobots are ready for them, and Jazz wipes out Laserbeak with one shot, and then fires again on another Decepticon. It looks like the Jet from earlier. The narration is really nice here though. It says, "The castle of Stantium once again bore witness to the sights and sounds of battle, a flaming, wheeling dance of destruction." And in the artwork, we can see the Autobot shuttle under attack from more Decepticons. Another Jet is taken out and crashes, smoking into the castle, and the Decepticons finally stop their attack and retreat, which of course they do, because they're the Decepticons, they always retreat. Prime and Jazz are talking, and Prime says that the Decepticon force is growing quickly, and that the Autobots can't leave the Earth like this. I really love Prime. Like, they haven't even dug out what they think is in the rescue ship yet, and he's already decided that they aren't going to use it to leave the planet, because he says if they do, the Decepticons will easily overrun Earth, and the Autobots are all that's preventing that. But he realizes that the Decepticons were coming for the rescue ship too. They can't let them have it either, so their only choice is to destroy it. That's a bit tragic in itself, but more tragic is what comes next. The Man of Iron we saw destroyed earlier wasn't the only passenger on the ship. And the Autobots, for some reason, which I suspect is really that the writers just needed to wrap everything up super neatly without introducing any new mystery Autobots, for some reason, they decide to destroy the ship and not check inside before they do that. Not even for resources or tech or anything. But inside there's this poor guy who was the one sending up the signal for 4 million years. And there's another nice bit of narration about him too. It says, "In his long, slow machine world, 1,000,000 years were as fleeting seconds. Human history had passed over him." Which it literally had. He was buried directly beneath the castle. It says that the location of Cybertron was locked inside his brain, and he had been waiting all this time to get back to his mission. But now that the other Man of Iron has been destroyed, his link to him is gone, and alone in the darkness he patiently beamed his signal, the same pattern of impulses, waiting. And then it says, Jazz could know nothing of this, which I would argue he really easily could if they had bothered to look inside the spacecraft at all. They just find it, they see like the side of it from the outside, and that's it. They don't even look inside a little bit. They could have scanned it. I'm kind of mad at this. They really should have checked this out.
Yeah, but I think the overarching point they're trying to make here is like Jazz, like even they mention it, he only knew of his friendship with the little boy, and he would do anything to protect the little boy, even if it's destroying their only chance to live.
Yeah, but I mean, I get that. That's nice and everything, but that relationship is not fleshed out in this comic very much.
Yeah, it's not that built up. It's like a fleeting moment kind of thing, but again, it goes back to maybe trying to appeal to the younger audiences.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think it will also. It's all just setting up like all marketing stuff, right? Because when the toys come into the market, the kids are like, "Oh, Jazz is my friend."
Yeah, I guess so.
I think it's just all business. Like,
yeah, like
it's
you
not
said,
really about. I mean, there is narrative, but it's more about the business side of things than the narrative side.
Yeah, I think so too. We're way at the beginning here where they're trying to really push it.
Mm-hmm.
I think later on people take it and run with it and do like have a lot of wild ideas they put in. But yeah, right now it's like sell the toys. Even the cover of the first issue has a checklist. Like it says in a big yellow bar, there's a checklist inside of all the toys. Bother your parents.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, I think they're really trying to push it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it also says that he only knows of his friendship with a small boy, which like all you did was kidnap and interrogate him and acted really creepy while you were doing it. Like, okay, sure. Jazz fires on the ship, which instantly implodes and vaporizes, which should have destroyed all of Stantium Castle that was on the top of it, but it's the last page, so no time to worry about details now. It says, nothing remained, and we see a flaming crater where the ship once was. So like a really needlessly tragic ending for the poor Man of Iron.
Yeah.
A crew came to destroy everything that remained, so there's no evidence of any of this left behind. And it says, summer came again the next year, and people were drawn to Stantium Castle by rumors of UFO sightings in the area. But all they found was the ruins of the castle, so it appears that it was destroyed, after all. I wonder how Roy Harker and George Cousins decided to explain that one away. But anyway, autumn came, and Sammy was a year older, and it says he never saw Jazz or the other Autobots again. But sometimes, on nights when the wind rattled his windows, he slept a fearful sleep, and the Man of Iron walked once more through his dreams. And that's it. That's the end. Like a really strange, melancholy ending where,
Yeah.
like, Sammy's kind of been affected by this whole experience, and the Man of Iron's just gone.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it continues beyond this. Like, is it the same characters, or do they change up everything at some point?
Yeah, me too. I don't know what's gonna come next. I wonder if Sammy's gonna be around. It says that he never saw them again, though, so I guess that's it for Sammy?
It could be, I think, just like a single whatever arc character story, and maybe the next one is something else set in another time. Because this ending, while weird, it feels complete, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too. It feels like this is it.
Yeah.
This story's done.
Yep.
Yeah, I really want to know the behind the scenes of this, because it really looks to me like there might have been some miscommunication where the Man of Iron was supposed to be like an Autobot character that we know, or I think Jazz, judging by the way he like so quickly brushed off how they happen to look exactly alike because they were both from Cybertron.
Yeah.
And that would also explain why they killed him off at the end there before he had a chance to do anything. And then his attendant, the other robot who attacked the Jeep, died without saying a single word too. I think if they really wanted to, they could have salvaged his body and repaired him. But the writers didn't want to deal with that, so he just exploded into pieces. And then all the pieces were destroyed, like specifically shown to be destroyed.
Yeah.
So this is actually the first real death in the comic so far.
Ah, interesting. I didn't think of it that way, yeah.
So what did you think about Man of Iron, parts 1 to 4?
I don't know. I mean, there are a few issues with it. Obviously, it's the 80s, so we have a different cultural experience, right? But like the only woman in the comic, and she doesn't have a name across 4 issues, but randomly every single man has a full name.
That's really noticeable, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you can notice it right now. I'm pretty sure they didn't notice it back then, right? Because that was the way of life, I guess, or I don't know, because I wasn't alive. But now it clearly stands out.
It sticks out because it's so weird that everyone's getting a full name. So it sticks out even more that she's just your wife.
Yeah, like that's all she's relegated to, taking care of the house and the kid. They show her being weak too because she can't handle the fact that the kid ran away. I mean, in today's world, if it was a mother, like we've seen so many stories, if your mother's kid was kidnapped by a Transformer, she wouldn't faint, she would run after that.
Yeah, but she gets
So-
sedated.
She gets sedated while the dad is in the middle of, all the busy work of trying, all the important work with the generals and everything.
That's true.
And then they're showing how his life is falling apart because his wife is sedated, his kid is kidnapped, instead of showing, they're trying to make it all about him again, right? At that point, like
It is, yeah, you're right. It's all from his perspective. There's no time given at all to how she processes this whole thing.
yeah, exactly. Like,
And the only thing she does in the comic is to talk to Roy about what he's doing and to talk to Sammy and tell Sammy to get out of the car. She doesn't have any of her own thoughts about herself or anything. I mean, she's not in it that much, but still, it's not great to have the only female character.
that whole divide is clear. Like you can see it, like even dealing with the son being kidnapped, like the mother would, I would imagine, also have a similar amount of pain and issues to process through. But oh no, she just fainted. But they make it all about the dad being, like the man of the house, and he's the one in all this pain. They discount everything that the mother went through. So
Yeah, she's not even in it when it tells you about that part. You get to see Roy's face, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so upset. Everything's going wrong."
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh on her.
Yeah, that was a bit weird, but I'm guessing it's just a matter of when it came out and the culture it came out in. And the other thing, like we've been talking about, the story feels rushed. There isn't any build up of characters. It's all boom, boom, balls to wall action, and the kid is in the middle of everything, like you mentioned. Like they didn't even need the kid to drive the narrative, right? I think it's just a
No.
proxy for kids to come in and pretend to be the kid, pretend to be Sammy.
I wonder how I would feel about this if I read it first, because the first 4 issues of the American series really impressed me because there's so much character stuff that I wanted but didn't expect to get. There's like a lot of backstory for Sparkplug, and there's even like a bit of like relationship building between him and Buster. Like it genuinely really surprised and impressed me. So to come from that to this is like, oof.
Yeah, I haven't read the American either, so maybe I'll hunt those out. I think they're the whole compendium is now on Hoopla. We got Hoopla over here.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's nice. I wish we had that. You can use your library card, right, to just get it for free. That's
Yeah,
nice.
I just
I mean, it's goofy. It's a bit weird in places, but it's actually really good for the time period as well. Like in the first few episodes of the show, I really go on about it a lot because I was so surprised from an 80s comic to have like complicated character relationships, and they mentioned that one of the characters was a war vet, and then they show you what happened in the war, and then that gives context to why he behaves a certain way in the present, which like comics now do that, but I've never seen an 80s comic that did that.
no, but see, I think I don't know how early UK comics came into the picture because I know this 2000 AD has been going for the longest time, but
Oh yeah.
my experience with European comics has generally been the comedy type, dramedy type of comics like Asterix and Obelix, Tintin
Hmm.
being, but those are mostly French, so I don't know about UK. But with America, I think they've been doing comics since the 30s, right? Like, so
Hmm.
that's what at 90, that's 50 years, give or take, of
Hmm.
various forms of comics. Because Archie has been around for the longest time too, and that's a whole
Oh
different kind
yeah,
of.
yeah.
Archie is mostly character interactions and building up this high school drama kind of stuff.
In the UK, we have like the Beano, which is like the comic that all the kids read, but it's not like Archie at all. I think it's like just strips and gags, and Archie is like adults grow up and they still read it. Where like it would be weird for an adult to read the Beano, I think.
Yeah, I kind of want to get back into Archie. I used to read it as a kid, so
Oh wow. Yeah, I've never read it. I know of it. I've just never experienced anything to do with it. Like I know like there's Archie and Jughead.
yeah, I know that was the only American comic I had access to, so that's the only American comic I read. I never read any of the superhero stuff.
Oh wow.
So yeah, for me growing up, it was the Indian side of things, and then uh, the European comics, Tintin and Asterix.
Those were the ones they always had at school. And like I don't really I mean I must have read them, but I don't remember them much. But Tintin is super actually and Asterix and Obelix are both really super beloved. So it would be interesting to go back and look at those as an adult.
Yeah, I love them. I'm planning to get the Tintin. So they're doing Tintin reprints, like the
Oh
whole
nice.
box set for all 23 issues.
That's it? It's only 23?
Yeah, only 23.
Wow, it's one of those things that feels like it's so like so well known you'd expect it to have gone for years and years and years, but only 23.
Yeah, I mean it's like Mr. Bean, man. I thought Mr. Bean had like 20 seasons.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But it's only one season. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's the same thing with Asterix. I think they're like 20 something issues.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, for me, I'd say it had its moments. I hope they keep the like devastating combat only because if it's that brutal all the time, there's going to be a need for like tactics and planning and doing interesting and clever things to outsmart each other. I don't know if that's hoping too much, but we'll see.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's also interesting that because you already read the American ones, it's interesting how
mhm.
different they're than in that case. I haven't yet, but based on what you've said, yeah, it kind of feels like, I guess it goes down to the market economics, catering to one market over the another. What works in one doesn't work in other. Because I know in America, living in like the war stuff is pretty big here, like veterans and all that. It's pretty
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
So if you have a war story, it will almost always succeed in US because of the World War II and all that stuff.
But yeah, it's weird how different they are at the moment. Maybe they'll start to like become more similar later, or they'll start to I don't know, the vibe will level out. But yeah, we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, from Reddit and stuff, I've heard that it becomes similar eventually, but and then I think the UK one drags it more because I guess it became more popular there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out like how this ramps up.
Yeah, should be fun.
So yeah, like you said before, this all tied up kind of really neatly now. So I'm curious to find out later if it's going to be like a more connecting plot than like all these episodic things,
Yeah,
or if they need to keep wrapping things up like this.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
I kind of want to read it a little bit more, but I'm trying to do it in the right order, so I can't skip ahead too far.
Yeah, the other thing I'm curious about is the cultural shift as the years go on, right? Because this is what 30 years of Transformers.
Yeah.
So I want to see how that
Hmm.
culture shifts as well. And I think that's the good thing about books, not just comics, like any stories, right? The books are set in that culture. You cannot go, once it's print, you cannot go and correct it or whatever.
Hmm.
So it gives you a proper lens into the world as it was then.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, like that's why I love reading, because I do like reading history and stuff too. So 'cause it's an interesting, it's fascinating to see, because we're not going to time travel. This is the only way we can time travel, through somebody else's words that make us imagine things, or
Right.
in terms of comics, through word balloons and drawings.
Yeah, I really wonder how it changes over time. Especially like the 80s was really turbulent in England, so I don't know if any of that's going to make its way into the comics, like Thatcherism and stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it should. People write, even look at the comics today, right? People are writing stuff like the Ultimates from Dennis Camp, for example. He's writing stuff that's happening today,
The issue of that about the Punisher,
right?
they pretty much just say, fuck you if you're a Nazi, fuck Nazis.
Exactly.
I was like, oh yes, I love this so much. And it was so like thinly veiled too. It wasn't even like they were pretending. It was an allegory. I loved it so much.
Because it's real here. Like, people wear the Punisher logo. I love Punisher, but I don't love Punisher because of all the things they falsely misrepresent him here. But
Right, yeah.
yeah, you find people, and I'm in a like a proper deep red state, right? The only saving grace is I'm in a city, which makes it blue. Blue meaning more democratic, more liberal. If I were to go away, like say an hour in the radius, 1.5 hours, then yeah, I gotta be careful where I stop, that kind of thing, right? Just because I'm not white.
That's like, it's so sad to hear in like 2025.
Yeah, it's crazy. It exists here today. So I'm gonna continue reading this. I'll track it down in Hoopla and stuff, and then maybe if you want to record more down the line, maybe we can.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much.
I had fun.
Oh,
So
good. Yeah, me too. I had a good time. Yeah, thank you so much for giving up your time for this.
all right,
Take care. See you
thanks.
later.
Bye.
Thank you once again to my guest, Chintan, for joining me, and thank you for listening. Next week, we're moving on to our next UK story, which is The Enemy Within. As always, if you enjoyed this, or any of my/our episodes, please do make sure to share this nonsense with anyone you think would enjoy it too. Our community is still small, but it's growing step by tiny step, so make sure to subscribe on your platform of choice, and to join us on the Discord. If you're watching on YouTube, a like, a share, and a comment are all wonderful ways to help me keep growing, and if you're a podcast listener, feel free to leave me a review. I don't think I've had a single one yet. I'm always looking for somebody to be a guest on the show with me, though as of right now I don't have internet at home, and the holidays are coming up, so the time frame for recording new episodes is going to be messy for a while. But if taking part and joining me is something that you think you'd like to do, feel free to send me a message either by commenting on YouTube, by sending me a message on Discord, or by Blue Sky, which is Clarion Comics JP. That's all for this time, but until we meet again, take care, be kind, and do good. Till all are one.